Well, the last time that I did the calculation for how much more I made in a short-term rental situation versus a long-term rental situation, I make approximately.
Hi there, my name is Lynn.
My name is Martin May. Together, we run New Brunswick Property Deals, where we connect savvy investors, both local and from out of province, to off-market properties with amazing cash flowing potential.
So, whether you are a first time homebuyer or an experienced investor, we can find you your next investment property here in New Brunswick.
When it comes to short-term rentals, if you can show
Yeah.
us a little bit like what areas are more sought after, which ones have great potential for Airbnb or any short-term rentals, that would be really helpful, I believe, for the investors who wants to do that.
Yeah, I mean, so I think I'll bring up a map here in a second, but I'll preface by saying Airbnb or short-term rental today is very different than what it was a year ago. And we don't know what the future holds because of everything COVID. So they're kind of, I guess I'll talk about it in two different different contexts, because if travel does go back to closer to normal, or to what we know as normal, then there's certainly different considerations. For me, I'll just share my screen here. I love to invest. I mean, the downtown is a really obvious sort of spot to invest. So sort of like this whole area here. And if we zoom in just a little, what we're talking about is basically everything this side of Von Harvey all the way to like if you follow Mountain Road here, like that's really what we would call the downtown in Moncton. It's not big, and most of it is residential, which is really interesting. Obviously, we've got commercial stuff along these yellow arteries. There's a lot of commercial stuff, but everything in the middle, for the most part, is residential, which is fantastic. So that's a really obvious place. It's walking distance to all of the attractions, close to public transit. It's also, there's a bus station and a train station located in here. So this is a great spot before and after COVID. So most of my properties sit in here. Since last March, we saw a dramatic change in Airbnb clientele, and really the reason for traveling more than anything. Not necessarily the demographic, but their intention for why they're traveling. Before it was, weekend away or a business trip and that kind of stuff. Now we're seeing people who are actually relocating. So there's a lot of movement in Moncton in general. And so I found a huge opportunity in that. Not everybody did, but I did. And it means that the map of opportunity has really kind of grown. So, this is, again, the downtown. So that's still a fantastic place to invest right now. You can see there's a hospital here. There's another hospital here, an English one and a French one. Anything around those areas has now become really, really interesting for Airbnb because there's a lot of employment there. And then also you'll see this area here is really, really exciting because this is it's called the North End here in Moncton. And this is what you would call like a suburb. Even though Moncton's tiny, this would be sort of the closest thing that we would have to a suburb of Moncton. And so this is a really, really sought after space. So if you're looking at short-term rentals, this area can be very interesting because people will pay really high price tags, whether it's for short-term rental or whether it's for purchasing a home, because of the schools in that area. And so that's really interesting. So as long as the market for furnished rentals for folks who are relocating stays as active as it is, this area is going to be really, really exciting. Now that's just Moncton. we also, the cool thing about this area is that it's actually Greater Moncton, right? So that's all just Moncton proper, but we've got Riverview over here and we've got Dieppe over here, which are also really, really interesting. So especially again, for folks who are relocating, right? Dieppe is very sought after, especially around this area here, because these are a lot of newer homes. There are also in this area, there are a lot of places that can be rehabbed over here, which is really cool. So again, that forced equity on top of really high rental prices. So that's really exciting. And then Riverview is just a super fun community. The whole, I mean, it's primarily residential, the entire thing. And there's a lot of places that can be rehabbed. And a lot of people love living here because it's a bit of a quieter town. This would be a town, whereas the other two are considered cities. So that's really sort of your more, I guess, as urban as it gets in this part of the country. But then if I zoom out a little bit more, and I'm going on for a long time here, but it just sort of speaks to how much opportunity there is, right? So now we're talking about, that's all Moncton, Dieppe, Riverview, the more urban areas. But then if you're interested in vacation rentals, then you're looking at all of this coast, right? And so you can see Coquang all the way down Grand Dig. These are beautiful, beautiful places. So very close to beaches, waterfronts, and they rent really, really well, particularly in the summer. But again, during COVID, for folks relocating or folks wanting to quarantine, which is a gold mine, these areas are really, really important. And then, you continue to Pointe du Chêne, which is where you would find like Parley Beach. And so a lot of folks, when folks are vacationing, so hopefully we'll see that sort of pick up again this summer as borders open. But this is where folks want to stick around all the way down to Capelli. But again, like you can continue and all along here, I would say all the way up until Trois-Ruisseaux, from Coquang all the way around, all the way to Trois-Ruisseaux would be golden opportunities for vacation rental. So as you can see, like there are tons of opportunities here. I could zoom in and show you some different neighborhoods, but I would say, if you really in the vacation rental space, the more sought after vacation rentals, like the really sure things, would be in this Pointe du Chêne area. Specifically, you'll see on listings, they call it the Bluff or places like that. These rent like hotcakes.
Could you give us a price range, an idea of how much they can be rented for? And
it depends on the size, right? So everything depends on the size, but you're looking at anywhere from, I guess, 120 for something much smaller to maybe $350 for something maybe larger. It also depends on if you're right on the waterfront, private beach access or not. So there's a big variation there. But you definitely, even if you're not winterized and you're only renting during the summer, you still make a pretty nice profit, because of course, depending on your nightly price, because the size affects that, your expenses are also dramatically decreased as well. So
what about in the central Moncton area? So for people who are, renting in more of the city.
Yeah.
So what kind of returns, can they expect if they were?
Yeah. I mean, again, it depends on the size. But if we're talking about like downtown area, I have studio apartments that I rent for about $70 to $90 a night currently. So that's, with the amount of travel that we have going on now. And then I also have 4-bedroom places that I can make up to $3,500 a month. So again, it depends on the size. It depends on, I guess, if you're doing longer term stays or shorter term stays, but in terms of, I guess, an easier way to give you a price point is really, profit, right? So, we're looking at a substantial percentage of profit. I think if I the last time that I did the calculation for how much more I made in a short-term rental situation versus a long-term rental situation, I make approximately 40% more.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
to make
Which is not too bad, right?
Sure. No, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about, just how you could help, especially out of province investors with their short-term rental property management needs.
Yeah, for sure. So, so we do short-term rental property management. I've got a team, a maintenance team. I've got a cleaning team that I work with, and so for folks who are out of province, we can sort of take over and do it all. So we can, you basically give us the keys and you don't have to think about it. We'll send you your money every month. So we'll take care of the marketing, we'll take care of the cleaning, the turnovers, and we can also take care of everything from maintenance of a property, but also, as I mentioned previously, I do flips and rehabs. That's my own investments are all rehabs. So we have a team that can lead that as well. So if an out of province investor has bought something that needs a rehab before it's ready for the short-term rental market, we can certainly step in and be a part of that, as well as the decor and the buying for furnishings and all of those elements. So really, like, we can be a catch-all.
So yeah, if when our investors, when they're ready to work with you, what's the best way for them to to reach you and get in touch?
Yeah. So the best way is actually through Facebook. So a Facebook message, either through my personal account or through my my Facebook page. So Get Elbow Room. So yeah, Get Elbow Room on Facebook. My website is also getelbowroom.com. So
Cool. Yeah, we're
Perfect.
actually talking about the name. How did you come up with that name? Albert?
everybody asks me that question. I came up with the name. It was actually really hard for me to come up with a name. I really dug deep about why I do what I do, and for me, my business is about creating space. So whether it's creating space out of a home that has been neglected that needs some love, I create space that way. It's also about creating space for the people who I buy homes from. Often the homes are burdensome properties. So, I'm helping them to create space in their own lives by taking away some of their burden. And so, with space, you get a little bit more elbow room to breathe. And so that's sort of where it came from.
That's pretty nice.
I love
I love
that.
it. Yeah.
And it does, it does swing both ways as well. It works with everything you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
I love that. That's really sweet. Well,
Awesome.
yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate your time. We really enjoyed
Absolute
our
pleasure. This
Yeah.
is fun. Yeah.
absolutely.